about that time of year. We talk about the best book for you to read this summer as a homeschool mom. Well, hello and welcome back to The Commonplace. My name is Autumn. Lately over here, we've had a lot of interviews running. I'm running all of my season 4 podcast interviews on YouTube as well, so that you can watch them if you're more of a viewer rather than a listener. And then I also had my interview with Rick Siegman about how to keep your kids safe. We were talking about a lot of safety things for trails, museums, a lot of the places that homeschool moms go to. And so it's just been a lot of really long interviews back to back. And I am here today with a quick video, one of my Home Librarian series videos, to talk about the #1 book that I think all homeschool moms should read this summer. So if you've been in these parts for a while, then you have definitely heard me talk about my annual read of C.S. Lewis's The Abolition of Man. Yes, this is the book that I read every summer. I'm trying to think if this is my 4th or 5th summer doing this. We'll go with 4th. We'll go more conservatively. It's probably my 4th summer. And it is just the book I need as a homeschool mom every year before the school year starts. I read it for inspiration, conviction, philosophical strengthening, all of it. It's a book about education. And I know I have a particular skill set where I can make a lot of books about education, but this one actually is. The subtitle on this is speaking to grammar books in the British school system at the time. So I would love to one day have a copy of what Lewis refers to as the Green Book in here. And it's about education in its broadest sense. Lewis is going with its depth, its width, its heights. He's talking about epistemology, philosophy, theology. He's talking about language, objectivity, rhetoric. And his point is that the young British schoolboy is going to have these wounds of the soul, things that mar him for life because of this grammar book that is supposed to be teaching English grammar, but is actually packed full of philosophy, deceptive, painful, destroying type of philosophy. And the English schoolboy who will one day become the English man will never know from where he learned his way of viewing the world. He will never trace it back to this grammar book. And yet, it will have marred his soul to the point where The Abolition of Man, by the end, there are 3 lectures. By the 3rd one, it's like a dystopian novel. There are no more persons. And so at the heart of this book, he's asking, what is a person and can we still become one? And of course, for the classicist, how we became persons, how we matured, if you go back to my video and my podcast episode about Aristotle's 4 causes, I'll link them all around so you can listen more in depth if you'd like to explore this more. But ultimately, we are trying to take our children from immature, uneducated people to mature, educated people, educated in its truest sense, in this whole formation, mind, body, spirit, all of them drawn towards what is true, good, and beautiful. Hopefully we pray in service to Christ. And that's being educated. And so can we still become that is kind of the question of this book. And so even if you're not a homeschool mom, I think it is a book you should read because again, there's a lot of consideration about the philosophies taught in school under the banner of being subject books. And actually, I think I talked about this in my podcast episode in season 3 when I talk about Men Without Chess, which is the first of the lectures in here. And I said that there is a lot of rightful hoopla and outrage about the books that are being brought into the public schools. I'm speaking very generally. I know someone will say, not in my school system, but generally across the United States right now. Yes, this is a thing. You can watch a lot of videos of parents reading really gruesome or horrifying or shocking things from books that teachers are promoting in the classroom or have available to the students in the library or on some sort of suggested reading list. But I kind of feel like I'm standing on Lewis's shoulders when I want to yell from the back of the room that those actually aren't the most dangerous books in this school. The shocking, the horrifying, the grotesque, the things that we were all like, ooh, why would you have that on a kid's book list? We all have that reaction because these books are clearly not what we want to be giving children. It's the grammar book that pretends to be teaching your child something about English grammar, but is actually saying something about objectivity, relativism, linguistics, epistemology, and then sentiments, how one ought to respond to something. Those are the sorts of things that shape how a child moves in God's world. And again, to Lewis's points, in ways that they will never be able to trace back to the source. They will never know that they adopted this posture of debunking, or this posture of making fun of feelings, or this posture of making sentiment king, having too many feelings, letting whatever's inside of you bubble up and become king. All of these things that we see on either ditch on either side of the path of wisdom, these things are actually taught in school books. And so for Lewis, this is kind of how he launches into ultimately what becomes a conversation about objectivity and the right feeling in response to objective reality. That's ultimately what he gets to in the book. And if you are interested in classical education, if this is something you want to pursue, you like Charlotte Mason, you like classical ed, then you are trying to teach the little ones in your home the right way to respond to capital R reality, which kind of gets into Mason's instrument of atmosphere. Of course, it comes through all three, but atmosphere, the definition I like, is it's the right ordering or the right way of relating to God, to others, and to things. And that demands an understanding of objective reality and that there is a right way to respond to things. That you, just because you have a reaction to something, doesn't mean it's right. So how do you bring that into order, that ordo amoris? Well, it's going to take your rational, your spirited, and your appetitive Platonic soul, basically. So if you are interested in this, if this sounds like something you would like to read, then I'm really happy to share with you that actually the Abolition of Man is going to be our summer-fall course in Common House. So I love teaching full courses in Common House. I think the Common House members really like them too. I don't know if they're more popular than the monthly Q&As that are live calls that people are on with me, but they're definitely high up there. And we are doing our first slow reading group. So a slow reading group, I've been joking, will pain the modern muscle. We will be working through this book from July until December, and we will be reading such small chunks, intentionally so, like purposely so, that we can dive down into the depths of what Lewis is saying. Because if you are familiar with C.S. Lewis as like the Chronicles of Narnia guy, when you read this, which is a philosophical text, if you get into his academic work, it is likely that you will think, oh, I cannot quite understand what you are saying there, sir. He is so brilliant, and it comes out in ways in which you're so brilliant you can take philosophy and teach it to children through stories, because Narnia is chock full of the philosophy of this book. But then also he was a great professor, the Don. And I do love that he would walk into his lectures already speaking, and then he would walk out of them still speaking, with like students grabbing their jackets and hats and books and everything, just following him out the door. Beware, my little co-op children, I will one day be doing that to you. No, but he's just such a character. Anyways, he's so brilliant that sometimes you get into his less popular and more academic work and you think, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that I actually don't understand the screw tape letter guy anymore. So if you'd like to read the book and you'd like to be able to discuss it with others, come join us in Common House. We actually have two groups. We have a this side of the world. I'm on Eastern Standard Time. And then thankfully, one of our Common House members, she's been in the Common House Patreon world with me for a long time. Her name is Robin Fawcett. She's in the UK, she's London GMT time, and she will be leading the Other Siders. So I'm really excited about this because Common House is very international. We have women from all around the world in there, and often because of timing and time zones, they are not able to join things live. And so since this group has to be done live because it's a slow reading group, it must be done in conversation, which is the best way to engage with ideas. And as I always say, what you want is philosophy. You need to engage with ideas, not just copy and paste anyone you like to follow online. And so even in my teaching, I try really hard to bring ideas forth and not make me, my particular application of the principles, right? Not make me the standard for your life and your home, but rather take you to the book, lead you through the wardrobe, all of that. And so we have two groups. Robin will also be a wardrobe guide, I guess, this time. And we hopefully will be able to serve two sides of the world best we can right now. So consider joining us. We would love to have you. We start reading in July. The informational guide with the reading schedule, a bit about how everything's going to work, is already up in Common House, so you can go ahead and get acclimated. And then, of course, get all the other bonus further up and further in resources in there. Because, yes, if you're new here, I steal everything from C.S. Lewis. All of my best taglines were written by this man. So let's read some more. I'll see you guys next time.